Live tonight on Architects of Humanity, ancient technology that rebuilt our world. I'm your host, Max Stout, and I'd like to present a few photos that I've saved, especially ones depicting ancient technology. I'm not sure if people know about the Antikythera mechanism or the Antikythera device, which was found in 1901 by Greek sponge divers, among a wealth of artifacts, many other artifacts that we don't know about from a Roman era shipwreck near the island of Antikythera. Greece, although the wreck, when we think about this, the wreck, right, it was corroded. The mechanism was found, and then magically they didn't have no more diving over there. You would think that they would look intensely for more stuff. But as usual, when they find something, they just make an excuse of why people can't continue to search in that area. This is why the search for human origins is a lie. If you find something as important as that gives us a glimpse back into our history, that would be like finding a vein of gold in a mountain, and then intense digging occurs to uncover more gold. This, of course, is much more valuable when you see stuff from the past that is actually technological and seemingly has been re-engineered to build the world we see around us. And that's why I put the thumbnail with the computers in the front showing the Antikythera device behind it. Super Sidewinder, what's up, bro? Good to see you, man. Always a pleasure, bro. Yeah, these devices that are found in many parts of the world that are militarized afterwards seem to be what was used to create the modern world we see today. But as we know, society will erase your mind. The neuralizer, basically from Men in Black. It's as if they activated some ancient robots and they're worshiping them. Somehow, maybe one or two of them was already active and showed humans how to strip mine the earth to find the rest of the minerals and technology that was needed to revive the rest of them. One, we had a guest on, Mr. William Armand Sosa, that worked on a device according to this hieroglyph on the wall, this carving in Dendera, which looks surprisingly enough like an energy device, a light bulb. But he went even deeper into that, finding out other components. Definitely seeming like technology. The Jed pillar looking like a transformer. And then when we look at what was found in the North American continent, of course, the wheel, the calendar of the Mayans that was said to be a destruction calendar, but really a calendar of ages. But could it be a computational device? When I remade it with technology to show the different aspects to it. This device is this carving is just amazing. I mean, the size of it too. But when we look at the Antikythera device, we see that this device has a mechanical look to it. And when it was x-rayed and they saw stuff inside of it resembling gears, they rebuilt it into technology. And it seems to resemble an ancient computer, just like some of the statues from ancient Egypt that look like a computer or a robot or an android that could possibly have led to the androids we see today. Pumapunku. Pumapunku has a hieroglyph on top of the doorway, and it looks surprisingly like a computer circuit. When we go through the timeline of ancient history, we see that there's many items in between that the religion of evolution does not want to acknowledge. These things are found on many different continents. But, what can we really say? The Jed bipole. I think it was the Jed pillar, from what I remember. But a lot of these ancient technological devices that have been reworked into models that actually function go against the theory of evolution. They rewrite history. But for some reason, the history books aren't changing. It's called alternative history, fringe science. And like Richard Milton, who wrote The Shadow in the Midst of Darwinism, they're put in a category where they can only be have interviews on places like UFO TV and things that people don't really take that seriously. If you want the truth, remember, they're never going to tell it to you. You have to search for it. You have to look for it yourself. This is why I've been researching this for decades, because I want to know the truth. Dual pillars. Yeah, possibly when we look at it. When we look at the devices, I mean, the Vimanas, the schematics for the ancient Vedic texts from the Hindus of modern day, showing Mercury vortex engines, Vimanas, the Shakuna Vimana, winged flying vehicles drawn in the early 1900s according to the Vedic text. And then modern schematics looks just like what they would say a flying saucer looks like. Fascinating when I think about it. But there's not many people that are interested in it. We're the few that actually still think. Remember, critical thinking is slowly but surely disappearing, just the way writing and reading are disappearing. Audiobooks have been outselling ebooks. Ebooks were outselling printed books. Now, printed books, what's the benefit in having a printed book? Well, it can't be deleted with the press of a button. So many people have ebooks, but not the print backup, which is important. And even more important is to have the thought backup, to think and remember, to say, yes, I've read that book and I can remember what was in it. We remember the formulas of mathematics without having the books. People remember how to do addition and subtraction and division and multiplication. And some people even remember how to do more complex maths like algebra and geometry and trigonometry and calculus. But slowly but surely, that's going away. People won't be able to do those things without a device. And then when those devices aren't around, that knowledge will be lost. These ancient artifacts that depict technology seem to have been what was used, re-engineered to build the modern world we see today. You'll never hear that from an evolutionist. They want everything to fit their religion. A clean-cut story of lies, just like a lot of other religions. But who knows? Who knows what the future has in store? Mr. X, good to see you, man. Always a pleasure, man. Always depicted counter-spinning weights of Mercury. Yeah, there's definitely something going on there. There's definitely something going on. The Mercury vortex engines, the wings, the saucers, the stories of cities flying in the air, the owns, the ones that come from under the water, carved in stone with the fish type headdress and the fish body going down the back like a cape. Very similar to the Pope's hat and hats of other hierarchy that we see around the world. Clearly, we can see that this is a tradition that's passed down. And the only way to prevent people from really grasping the concept of that is to control their mind. It's just like back in World War II when people said the so-called bad guys, which both sides really contained them, all three sides, really, when you look at it. It was like three dogs grabbing onto something and trying to rip it and take it and steal it, which seemed to be technology that came from the ancient world. And that technology was rebuilt and formed massive amounts of technology that we see today. Look at the year, 1947, 1948. So many things happened in those years. A lot of people were born in those years that when you look into it, brings up even more questions. Let me see, celebrities, because I had it. Born in 1947 and 1948. So when we look this up, in 1947 and 48, you had David Bowie, he was born, Elton John, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stephen King, Rob Reiner, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And these are in 47. Sam Jackson was in 48. Kathy Bates, Billy Crystal, Stevie Nicks, Ozzy Osbourne. This is not a coincidence, folks. This is clearly not a coincidence. And yeah, it could have been that the technology was built by beings that can see in 4D. It's a possibility. And that's a very, very deep rabbit hole to go into. So when we look at others that were born in 1947, Meatloaf, Greg Allman, wow, Carlos Santana, holy smokes, actors and directors, Glenn Close, James Woods. This is just goes beyond chance. Authors and others, Stephen King, as I said before, Camilla, Queen of the United Kingdom, Hillary Clinton, holy smokes. Oh man, Carl Weathers, Olivia Newton-John. Man, it just goes on. Cat Stevens, Donna Summer, King Charles III, Clarence Thomas, oh my goodness, Andrew Lloyd Webber. Wow. Wow. Let me see if it'll list a few more. I guess this is the power of AI to me. Searching, it's a super search engine. 47. See, this goes beyond chance. To have all of these celebrities, imagine seeing the world and the universe from a higher dimension. Things in this world wouldn't seem so complicated and mysterious. Very possible. Very possible. Kind of like the way we see shadows and can manipulate them. Or maybe they're manipulating us. So Don Henley from the Eagles, Joe Walsh, wow, Iggy Pop, Mick Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac, and I think Stevie Nicks I had just mentioned before, Richard Dreyfuss, Ted Danson, Sam Neill, Edward James Olmos, Farrah Fawcett, oh my goodness, Larry David, Kevin Kline, David Letterman. I just, Nolan Ryan, the baseball star. Wow, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, Robert Plant, James Taylor, Alice Cooper, Jackson Brown, Steve Winwood, Kenny Loggins, Donna Summer, and Olivia Newton-John I mentioned. This is just, I mean, what, between 2 years, 47 and 48 in the 1900s, and this is just a few, oh my God, Rhea Perlman, Bernadette Peters, Kate Jackson, Felicia Rashad, Jeremy Irons, Jean Reno. Oh man, Peggy Fleming, the skater. Man, let me see if it has any more names. Let me see if it'll list more. Please list more names. That's really what AI is good for to me. Sammy Hagar, holy smokes. Yeah, when you push AI, you get a few. The guy who played Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund. Wow. Jane Curtin. Man, they John Ritter, holy smoke, from Three's Company. 1947 and 48 were something was going on there. I think Roswell happened them too. Al Gore, former vice president. Wow, that's crazy. Let me see if wow, that's like, when was Roswell? I think Roswell was in this area. Yep, 47, early July in 1947. And then you got all these people born in 47 and 48. Go figure. Go figure. That's like really something. Oh, the list is for, these are all the celebrities, musicians, and people born in 1947 and 48. It was just speculating on some of the stuff. Yeah, there's no chance that it's a coincidence. Yeah, no chance at all. And then, we were talking about the ancient technology and stuff like that. Yeah, man, when you think about it. The Roswell, and, the fact that I was reading that off, because Roswell occurred in July 47. You had all of these celebrities born, and that's just some of the ones that it pulled up. I'm pretty sure if people did a really deep search, they would find something very, very non-coincidental. And the Roswell flying disc, as I showed before, the ancient schematics of the Vimanas that very much look like flying devices. So when you have ancient scriptures from Vedic texts, from basically what stemmed off and became Hinduism, that will give descriptions of flying devices that can be interpreted, drawn out, and you get what we saw, which was Vimanas, like this one here. This is the Mercury Vortex engine. This was drawn in the early, I think, 1920s. And then these are modern. It looks like a flying saucer. It really does. And then Antikythera device, when we look at that, and then it's rebuilt, they re-engineer, they x-ray the parts, and then they re-engineer it into what appears to be an ancient form of a computer. And that's why I put it for the thumbnail, the Antikythera device leading into the modern computer. All of these sites, as we know, are militarized, like the pyramids. You can't go there with any alternative theories. We've already seen what happened to some of these people. Mehdi says, Watts made the point, as we focus down on our world, we see it switch from order to chaos over and over again. Wow. I think these devices and structures were built by non-human or hybrids and were worshipped by human tribes of all cultures. It's possible. It's possible. There's, many of the top actors in Hollywood, DiCaprio, Cruz, and Johnny Depp, all started as youths in Hollywood. Yeah, they get them young. They get them young, man. What was the name of that Mormon, the preacher, the scary guy? Bring them young. You can't even make that up. It's like, what's his name? It's like, is that a request, or is that someone's name? Bring them young. It makes you wonder. And they're like, well, it's both. It's both. It's both his name and a request. Bring them young. You can't make it up, folks. You really can't make stuff like that up. Yeah. And he was, if you look up, it's a pretty despicable character. pretty despicable character. Brigham Young. What would you think? And that's not just to pick on that particular person in that religion, because there are definitely going to be good people in all religions. But Brigham Young, man, I'll tell you, like kind of like, who was that other one? Jimmy Swaggart, sweating on the mic in church after getting caught picking up a lady of the night twice. I think the second time, I don't know if Jimmy Swaggart is still around. He might still be around. And Billy Graham, Tammy Faye Baker, Jim Baker, the whole crew. You know, they didn't want to be honest, man. That power, it's not that power corrupts. Power attracts the psychopaths. The psychotic is there. It's like a magnet for them. Good people can wield it, but I tell you, man, it really tests you. It can really test you. Brigham Young, man. Yeah, that I tell you, man, that I think about that. It's like, man, that it just, you can't make it up, man. Yeah. Yeah, you can be a spiritual person without being part of any religion. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but trying to see what else happened. Let me see. What other significant events happened in 1947 and 1948? Let's see. The Cold War, the start of the Cold War, the rise of new nations, and the post-World War II restructuring, the Truman Doctrine, the Marshall Plan. Wow. So when we look at that, India, Pakistan, Berlin blockade, the creation of the CIA. You gotta be kidding me. You have to be kidding me, man. Wow. All of this stuff within those 2 years, right? The National Security Act. So the U.S. restructured its military and intelligence, establishing the CIA, and the National Security Council, which is lesser known. The Marshall Plan, announced Secretary of State George Marshall, right? He announced the plan for European recovery. The Taft-Hartley, so that happened. UFO speculation. It's funny because that Roswell thing, people, I mean, they based like their whole life, they were chasing that, right? Now, with all the UFO things with Biden when he was president, nobody cared. Nobody cared, man. Wow. Assassination of Gandhi. Wow, man. A lot of stuff. Apartheid begins in South Africa. Whoa. And the Olympics in 1948 were held in London, the first time since 36. Okay, we have that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. And the TV, the popular debuts of the brainwashing device. I think David Icke would call it the hypnotist in the corner of the room. That was Icke, man. Icke definitely came out with that the biggest secret, and he was just putting people on blast. Yeah, he was definitely putting people on blast, man. Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure about that. I gotta look that up. Yeah, the CIA, man. Yeah, definitely that. Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah, I think it was saying here the Olympics, I think 34, yeah, it might have been, well, it says 36, because if it's, if 48, if it's every 4 years, right? So that would be 44, 40, and 36. And then the previous one would have been 32, I think. I mean, the whole Olympic Games, again, is another distraction. I mean, that whole thing, it it's like the events where, and I kind of knew this since I was a kid. It's like being forced because the zombie horde wants to go and see these events and kind of being drug along, when sometimes a kid just wants to stay home and play, or just not be, just isolate. There's a level of isolation that's required to keep your sanity. I mean, misery likes company. Happiness sometimes likes isolation. But the pressure that we feel from society is real. I'm very surprised that people aren't more interested in finding and noticing ancient technology in many artifacts that we see in museums. We see them in documentaries too. Because remember, just looking at a documentary with the pyramids of Giza, you're going to get their story. But when you look at them, you could be watching it and say, wait a minute, this doesn't match up what they're saying. People built this. You can't even build that with steel. You can't cut into granite with steel. Granite is harder. It's like trying to cut a tree down with a plastic saw. It doesn't have the hardness to do it. It will wear out the saw. Now, sandstone is hard too. Limestone you can cut, and marble you can cut. And even some of the works that I see done in marble, I wonder if that was done with a chisel. I mean, you're looking at some serious artwork there in stone. In stone, man. Yeah, the scoop marks. The scoop marks are real, man. Yeah. Yeah. The more I learned about history of the church, the more I realized it was all about control and ties. Yeah, man. It definitely is. And altar boy, enough said. Exactly. Enough said. Truman Doctor, then you have Korea. Yep. Yep. All lined up. All lined up, man. It's all added up together. Yeah. It's like when they find this ancient technology, they re-engineer it, and they just tell people evolution did it, or religion keeps them in that state of trapped mind. Yeah, that's something to think about when we look back at. Wonder what was happening. What happened in 1936? If there was anything significant. Oh no, I didn't type it in. Okay, what other events? Okay, in 36, Italy's annexation of Ethiopia. And how they word that, annexation, so the invasion, so basically Italy's invasion. Why did all of these countries invade, man? It's just, I think the Berlin Conference was when that was in they say 1884, 85 was a meeting of colonial powers, or we could say colonial monsters, that concluded with the signing of the General Act of Berlin, that they would just go and pillage through Africa, dividing Africa among themselves. Anybody can look this up, man. Just the way other countries were carved up. What technology allowed these people to do that? And we see everybody subjugated by that stuff today. I mean, when you make a deal with a crook, don't be surprised when he eventually rips you off too. And that's what we see happening in the country. Man, the Berlin Conference. That I remember this guy used to teach, and he would be pretty proud of that. And the countries, Austria, Hungary, Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Britain, Italy, Netherlands, Portugal, Russia, Spain, Sweden, Norway, Turkey, and the United States of America. Wow. Just chopped it up, man. They just chopped it up. So basically, what was the major outcome of that? was European claims on African territory increased with international, get this, legal recognition? No, there's nothing legal about that. But then everything that's found, these artifacts, it keeps people from finding history, because now these are the people that tell the story of the past. And of course, saying, well, they ended slavery by Islamic powers, but ushered it in on a different form. We see that today. Yeah, some of the stones they claim were chiseled and moved through a valley up. Yeah, that it just doesn't make sense. Yeah, Cambodia is just and what they're hiding in the Smithsonian too. Yeah, that's very true. Catholicism is based. Yeah, a lot of it is based on that. A lot of it. Cambodia. Let me see. What recent archaeological finds in Cambodia? Cambodia. Archaeologists recently unearthed a dozen 11th century sandstone door guardian statues. Wow. Near the north gate of the royal palace of Angkor Thom in Cambodia. It was found during a restoration project. That's pretty deep, and it displays unique facial hair on relatively good condition. Wow, that's kind of deep. The prom statue. Let's see if they got any in. Wow. Yeah, man. Some of these statues, this is pretty deep, man. They're finding stuff everywhere. They're finding stuff everywhere. And if people don't research this themselves, then we what do we get? We get the official story. We get the 9/11 commission, basically. Yeah, some of Cambodia's Khmer kingdom like monoliths. I mean, they just right out of like a Sinbad movie, you know. Wow, some of these statues, yeah, some are miniature. And the funny thing is they have these trees growing over it. Yeah, the temple discoveries. Yeah, this is deep. I appreciate that, Maddie. That's the LiDAR scans. All right, let me look into the LiDAR scans. Yeah, the LiDAR. Okay, the LiDAR scans. Okay, Southeast Asia revealing massive hidden medieval cities beneath the dense jungles. Wow. Surrounding Angkor Wat. This clearly changed the story of what would be evolution, but you know they're not going to add that in. They're going to change the evidence to fit the theory. They'll never change the theory to fit the evidence, because that would be science. That would actually be science if that was done. That would be using the scientific method, which is, they don't want to do that. Mahendra Parvata, Phnom Kulen, LiDAR identified a previously undocumented 1,200-year-old city. Wow. Under the jungle of Mount Kulen, featuring temples, canals, dikes, and roads. Boy, that sounds primitive, right? That sounds like some hunter-gatherer stuff. Makes you wonder. The urban expansion of Angkor. Surveys showed that Angkor Wat was part of a much larger, densely populated urban area. Well, what do you know? Man, Mehdi, you are on point. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, the LiDAR scans. They also have some Guatemala stuff, and it's militarized too in Guatemala. They're using satellites to keep people from going there, employing civilian rats. The entire region was a massive civilization that archaeologists claim was built in 20 years. That's hilarious, man. Wow. Much more refined than the ones that came later. Yep, trying to imitate the original, showing that the older structures are much more advanced. Yep, archaeologists, man, that religion of evolution is brutal. It is brutal. It is relentless. It is zombie city, man. And it's funny how so many people believe in it. They get PhDs in that, player-hated degrees. Wow. 2012 and 2015 aerial surveys. So these are over 10 years old. Wow. Urban city blocks identified. The data unveiled regular city blocks with elevated occupation mounds and ponds within the 12th century moat of Angkor Wat. Might have been before 12th century, but they don't want that. They don't want to know about that. You know, hunter-gatherer, man. So probably didn't throw that in there. Hunter-gatherers built it, right? City blocks. Priya Khan. I remember there was a guy called Priya Prishnikar with a sword of light. I think it was from Cambodia too. Like a lightsaber, you know, sword of light. Sword is a saber, right? Lightsaber. The surveys uncovered a significant previously unknown city surrounding the temple complex of Priya Khan of Kampong Save. Revising history, the evidence suggests that the Khmer Empire did not entirely collapse in the way previously believed, as the findings show no evidence of a mass migration to southern cities. Yeah. You know, I mean, but like you were saying, Mehdi, that it goes back, you know, no, this isn't babbling. Please don't apologize. This is good knowledge. I really appreciate it. Yeah, no, it should get us going. We should really be investigating. This is what makes the show. This is great. Our ancestors were much more developed and intelligent than archaeology gives them credit for. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Way more intelligent. Actually, that's why I named the stream. This is basically what ancient technology that rebuilt the world that we see today, the so-called modern world, the so-called advanced, definitely in civilization. It's a modern technological cult of death. That's what it's more defined as, if we were going to fit it to the definition. Cult of lies and death, you know. Methodology, helicopter mounted LiDAR, right? Light detection and ranging for anybody who doesn't know what LiDAR is. It's a light detection and ranging technology. Just like, what was that other one? They had a few others, like radar, you know, I think that's radio distance and ranging for the acronym. Like a laser is a light amplification by stimulated emissions of radiation, LASER. And, you know, that's something that people should know too, I would think. You know, kids would be fascinated with it, like scuba gear, self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, you know, the validation, data collection 2015, largest ever conducted, mapped hundreds of square miles of the Khmer landscape. Well, so they say. It's probably so much other stuff that they've mapped that they don't tell us about. You know, and only 5%, right, of the ocean, only 5%. Yeah, keep believing that. The validation, these digital maps allow researchers to find Ground truth, locating the remnants of temples and the infrastructure, such as mounds and canals. So if this stuff is existing, man, that's let me see what it says about Guatemala. Guatemala. I mean, the name. LIDAR, light detection and ranging scans in Guatemala have revolutionized Maya archaeology. Over 60,000 hidden structures, including houses, palaces. Get that? Well, what do you know? What do you know? We did lose technology, and the more research that is done by pseudo-archaeologists, the more that is being uncovered that points to much more older civilizations existed with technology we don't have. Yeah, yeah. Or we have built in a different form. Yeah. The built barres that are 8-kilometer. Is that in Cambodia? Three, unless it's in Guatemala. Let me look back at the other window. Wow, man, 60,000, including houses, palaces, elevated highways, and fortifications beneath the dense Peten jungle canopy. All right, it's spearheaded by the Pakunam Foundation. These surveys, you know, these foundations probably funded by Gates or something like that. Who knows? Under the megalopis. How do you say that? Megalopis, maybe. Spanning over 800 square miles. Wow, this is immense. Suggesting a population of 7 to 11 million. What happened to those people? Makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder. Wow. It really makes you wonder. Hidden megalopolis. A hidden megalopolis in 2018 surveys revealed. So it has that, the massive infrastructure, intensive agriculture, evidence of a widespread large-scale agriculture. So these people were pretty advanced. Massive landscape modification, new discoveries in 2022 and 2023. Further surveys, particularly in Mirador, Calakmul, Karst Basin, identified 964 new sites, including 417 ancient cities, towns, and villages. Man, this is just off the Richter scale. I remember some kid had did like some type of star triangulation and found another city. Yeah, there was some, I think he was between 12 and 14 years old. You know, the kid is smart, man. Shows you that at least, thank goodness that there's still some intelligence left in the world. Overcoming environmental barriers. The technology, which involves laser pulses fired from aircraft, bypasses dense vegetation to create detailed 3D maps of the ground. Makes you wonder why they can't do that underwater, right? Or through the water. Areas that would have taken researchers years to survey on foot were covered in a few weeks or months, allowing for rapid discovery of archaeological features. Man, there's just so much stuff that we don't know about. They are finding Aztec civilization was older and more developed. Yes, it definitely was. It definitely was. That's why I had remade this, you know, the Aztec, I think this is the Aztec calendar, right? And then I had technology color it in so I can see some of the symbols. I mean, this thing is looking very very complex when I think about it. This is looking very complex, kind of like computer like icons around the edge when I look at it. And the size of it is pretty big. I mean, when you see somebody standing next to the original. I mean, this is not a small artifact. This is definitely not a small artifact. Wow. Yeah, man. Yeah. So Guatemala. Let me see if there's any other. I wonder what other countries. Brazil. Brazil, I think, would use. They would have some. Oh, oh. LiDAR is uncovering thousands of hidden pre-Columbian earthworks, lost cities, and complex interconnected settlements beneath the dense rainforest canopy. All right, so we have that clock face villages, 35 villages dating back to 1300 to 1700. Massive earthworks, Amazonas, pre-Columbian urbanism. Wow. Visualization, the LiDAR site. Yeah, this is deep, man. This is deep. I think Graham Hancock was doing some research on that. I think I have the book Flooded Kingdoms of the Ice Age, showing a lot of underwater coastal cities. I mean, just like Dvarka off the coast of India, the south, I think southwestern coast, which they might consider to be Pakistan today, the invaded country, which was basically Western India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, still fighting over Kashmir. So much war, man. So much war. Now, where else? LiDAR scans. Archaeological. Why is it saying? Where else are LiDAR scans? All right, let me see. Where else are LiDAR scans finding ancient? All right, ancient. That's the key word. Ancient archaeological finds. Or maybe I should put city. Amazon, Southeast Asia, and Europe. I wonder what's there. Europe, the UK, Italy, and Croatia used extensively to find hidden Roman roads. Wow, that's something. And then Croatia's bathymetric LiDAR, Roman villa underwater near the coast. Yeah, bathymetry. That's where they find Doggerland between England and the mainland of Western Asia, used to map ancient Etruscan cities like Melpom. Wow. I think the Etruscans were considered to be the forefathers of the Romans. Wow. They found structures off the shore of Cuba. Yes, I remember that. Deep too, like over a mile deep. Indonesia. And now they found one off the coast, of Cuba. I remember some lady was like spearheading that. I think she's a Russian lady, really deep into that. The cities are built on predictable patterns. It shows planning and some form of bureaucratic structure that could get these things built. Really, wow. Yeah, they got some serious stuff there. A little tired. Been up since like 6 a.m. Got to get up early tomorrow too. Digital deforestation. Talking about the rapid discovery. Yeah, man. Yeah, this is deep stuff. Well, I appreciate you guys here. Just kind of looking over some of the stuff with me of the ancient technology that rebuilt our world. You know, ancient robots, possibly. The Egyptian, clearly, the Egyptian friezes on walls that show what appear to be some sort of ancient technology, Jed pillar, ancient technology of the Aztecs as we look through it, especially the Antikythera device right here, as we look through it and we, the x-rays and stuff like that. And who knows, man, who knows? The ancient Egyptian, you know, these Colossus statues could be robots. Could be. I mean, Talos and stuff like that definitely seem to be robots. Yeah. You have Turkey, which has Göbekli Tepe. Yeah, and it's probably older. They filled in parts of it, I think, with cement. They reburied it. It's really crazy, man. Retro, what's up? Says, yes, indeed. I call it Sinai hardware in my novel. Wow, what's the name of your novel, man? I didn't know you were writing a novel. That's great. It's great to know that you're writing, man. Need more writers, more readers, more producers, man. More producers. I'm not really sure how long. Like I always say, nobody's promised tomorrow, right? It's like, man, yeah, nobody's promised tomorrow. The Olmec religions, Mexico and Central America, notably the city of Valeriana. Wow, they found featuring thousands of structures, including pyramids. In Mexico. Wow, that's pretty deep. But yeah, I'll go and I'll look. This lady had a video years ago with the bathymetry showing that stuff about Doggerland between England and the coast, the main coast. And, you know, that was like, I think it was like a, considered to be like a myth, but it's funny how, I think the city of Troy was considered to be a myth until Heinrich Schliemann found it, right? Found the mythical city, which ain't a mythical city anymore. Remnants of the machines and the cargo cults that made effigies and temples in the shape of the oldest pre-Diluvian computers. Wow. That's the title? It's a pretty long title, man. But yeah, Mr. X, what's up, man?
Hey, good to see MD. Glad you're streaming. Glad you see you streaming. That's great, man. Yeah. I mean, this architecture, that's why it's so important to get different perspectives. So maybe we can get some pieces of the puzzle here. You know, I throw in my 2 cents, but it's just worth 2 cents. You know what I'm saying? It's just, but I think you're doing the right thing, bringing on other guests because, yeah, these are the deep mysteries we got going on here.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how it affects our life.
Yeah, Mehdi gave a lot of good info, man. I didn't know about the Cambodia stuff. I heard about, I've studied Angkor Wat,
right?
Cambodia, and then Angkor Thom I knew about, but this new stuff is great, man. That's what it's about. Everybody.
What was it about Angkor Wat? They found something. They had to get ready for work. They had something underneath they found?
Angkor Thom. I think it was near Angkor Thom. But Angkor Wat, they found other stuff too. I think LiDAR scans in Angkor Wat is supposedly a lot larger than they thought before. Let me see, of Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat. LiDAR scans of Angkor Wat reveal larger, maybe structure.
Like an underground network or something like that?
It says, because it's more or less like, it also works with water, like if they had like waterways, like so.
Yes, aquifers, same thing as the Egyptians, everything. It's all aquifers. Coral Castle, same thing.
The Khmer Empire, extensive urban grid, dense network of roads, ponds, and residential mounds. Previously unknown structures, the scans uncovered extensive buried temples, shrines, and sophisticated large-scale water management systems, reservoirs and canals previously obscured by thick vegetation. This was a city, basically. Wow. Coiled-shaped embankments of unknown function. That's something, man. Yeah, so Angkor Wat also, because that was the one I knew about. And yeah, That's pretty deep, man. That is pretty deep. Oh, the title is Xenos Exit. Okay. Yeah, man. Let us know when it's out, bro. Let us know. Yeah, it's always good to see Mr. X, man. I can caffeine up and try to talk. Yeah, if you want to hop on, man, just let me know, bro. We got the link pinned to the top of the chat. Always happy to hear your input. They have batteries, solar charge built into shafts, into anchor. Wow.
I'll be back, MD. I gotta take care of an emergency.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
sure, man. Yeah, if you want to hop on retro, definitely, and kick it. What about your research, man? This is great to know that you're researching this, and Medi and everybody else. I knew the subject. If I knew the subject better, I would join. I mean, you can always join. It's all right. We can always speculate, bro. Aquifers, that is what the berets are. 8 freaking kilometers long. Yeah, it definitely. The Romans had an aqua text messaging system that floated a stick to specific message from an extreme distance. Wow, wow, man, that's yeah, yeah, man. I tell you, it's yeah. I think tonight is kind of a slow night. You know, not really much going on. I'm kind of tired too. Yeah, got to get up kind of early. Been up for, man, I think what, 6 o'clock, 12, almost 17 hours, 18 hours. Yeah, I'll probably call it a night for now. Appreciate all you guys. Yeah, 3 kilometers wide. That's like massive. That is so massive. It's like, wow. But yeah, thank you guys for being in the chat. Mr. X for coming on. Um, yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk soon. Maybe Saturday, but I think yeah, Objective Ethics streaming Sunday at 4. If I stream Sunday, it'll be after. I don't want to, I'll stream after he streams, so later, like a couple hours afterwards. Oh, I think who is this? Retro. Retro, what's up, man? Is that you?
Hey, what's up?
Oh, just hanging, man. Yeah. So, any thoughts on your book and stuff?
Oh yeah, like a ton. Like I started writing this book. I'm trying to figure out when, like fall, I guess, 2 years ago. So I started, putting down some serious notes for, I guess, the end of 2024. And then when my stepdad passed, he was just so into sci-fi and stuff. I was like, those notes, I'm gonna totally turn them into chapters. And I got to chapter 4, and then I started like animating it and making it kind of like a cartoon, and that helped me a lot with the dialogue. And then I just slowed down a bit, and then I just did the note thing again, and then finally the novel evolved to like what it should be. It's just not to the public obviously yet. Haven't figured out how to market it or anything, but just have it behind the scenes here for final proofreading and editing on my own. But yeah, it basically hints to older stuff being around, and that's what I hint to, and why jewelry's made out of, gold is because they worship the gold because it was, originally used for something else, which was the connection to the gods, and that was a computer. And that's why they've had so much of it in history, because what's the real value of gold? Why'd they have so many gold and copper mines the further you go back? And there was no real reason to be mining gold and copper 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 20,000 years ago, unless there was some special use it had that's beyond what we think primitives were doing. Now, if it's for, electric conductivity or computers, then that's why they would have been mining it and then set up a society around it, and then had a lot of it left over to turn into jewelry. So I call it like they melted down the Sinai hardware, is what I'm getting to. When like Moses went to the, Mount Ararat, they destroyed a computer. He got it to print those commandments, but when they say they melt the ram or the bull calf, to me that means they destroyed the computer after they created something with it, so whoever else wouldn't have a chance to duplicate it, is what I'm guessing, and then they turned it into jewelry. That's just me, my hypothesis that is kind of included in the novel.
Wow. So Moses melted down a computer at Mount Ararat?
Yeah, Mount Sinai.
Or
But yeah,
Mount Sinai.
yeah, that's why I call it Sinai hardware. Sorry. But yeah,
Wow.
there's other stories about Mount Ararat that are sorry, I had in my head that's where they claim the sun used to set behind a giant mountain, and that was the name for the mountain was where Moses parked his boat, and it doesn't have to be the actual mountain we think of in Turkey. That was the other thing on my mind when I mentioned Ararat. Is Ararat was just the place. Ancient times there was a world mountain that they thought the sun parked behind every night.
Mhm.
And that became the same mountain that Noah parked his boat on. Different story.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty deep, man. That I look forward to that, man. That sounds really good. When you get your book finished, man, you can come on here and we'll promote it, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cyberpunk tale, but it has stuff that hints to what was going on in the ancient past built into it. But it takes a full read to get there. So
Yeah, yeah. I
it's
mean,
definitely a cyberpunk, action novel. But then
mhm.
it has this other stuff woven in from my own path of learning that's taken me a long time to pick up along the way of, what my theories are.
So what would it be classified as? Like fiction, nonfiction, or like what would it be?
I mean, Gnostic cyberpunk is what I guess it would be called.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's some kind of Gnostic sci-fi. So somewhere in the realm of Philip K. Dick stuff. But, I barely read Philip K. Dick, but we've all seen his movies,
Yeah.
Blade Runner and, and then all these stuff was everything that's major sci-fi is almost based on a Philip K. Dick story.
Yeah, he wrote the basic structure for Blade Runner.
Yeah, it's like sheep's dream, electric sheep's dreams,
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
Sheep's
do
dream of
robots
electric
dream?
sleep or something.
Yeah, I think it was Do Robots Dream of Electric Sheep?
Something. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was that. Yeah, wow. And then it was turned into Blade Runner. What other ones did he write? Do you know? Like the movie?
Yeah, any one of the major ones we can name was basically one of his stories. So let's think of the biggest, besides The Matrix, obviously, is an older novel. This is Daniel Galloy's novel, which turned into 1964, is what they adapted The Matrix from. For some reason, they don't like to talk about where it really came from. But it's just, it's like half that book smushed into an action story with lots of guns.
Wow, this is
But
so
Philip K.
great.
Dick, I'm trying to think of what other.
I typed it in. It says Blade Runner. So do androids dream of electric sheep? Total Recall.
Yep, Total Recall.
We Can Remember It for You Wholesale. Minority Report from his short story of the same name, and The Scanner Darkly.
Darkly, yeah.
Wow. The Adjustment Bureau from Adjustment Team. Paycheck from Paycheck. Next from The Golden Man. Screamers from Second Variety. Imposter. Imposter was a really good movie, man, with Lieutenant Dan. Gary Sinise.
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, they interview him until the alien pops out of him. Yes, I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah, man. He goes nuclear at the end, man.
Yeah, you kind of side with him the whole time. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that movie was really good, man. Hard to find too, man. You can only find like little clips on YouTube.
It makes the questioner seem like the bad people, the people that are questioning him.
Yes. The guy who I forgot his name. He's a known actor, but he's
Vincent D'Onofrio, is it maybe?
Yes, that guy. He's a great actor, man. That guy played an excellent part in that.
He's the guy in The Cell, isn't he? The killer in The Cell, or maybe is that him?
I think so. Yeah.
He hardly has any speaking lines in The Cell, but he does really good with the dream scene.
Yeah, he played the psycho in I think it was Full Metal Jacket in the beginning.
Yeah. That was more of the beginning of his career. Yeah.
Yeah. He was, but that guy really, he did some. I think he also played the creature, like the skin that was pulled over the creature in Men in Black when it landed.
Oh wow, yeah, I think so.
He played that guy.
Yeah, Men in Black hints to a lot of stuff. I don't know who wrote those, but wow.
Yeah. Philip K. Dick. It says he wrote a lot, man. Like, I mean, I can't believe that. I didn't know he wrote a 1953 short story, Imposter. So That's what they based it on. Imposter was based on his story, Radio Free Albemuth.
Albemuth, yeah.
Yeah, so that
Valis was his biggest novel, as far as I know. Is Valis was his biggest, weirdest novel. But
wow,
I'm not an expert on him, except I know I like his stuff. Meaning the stuff I end up seeing that's a sci-fi movie, and then I asked my AI to compare my work, and it compared it to him, and I was like, okay, because I don't know who I compare to with my writing.
that is great, man. That is really great, man. And thank you, Maddie. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was gonna say, I figure, hey, it's always great to have a guest on. Having Igor Retro Sasquatch, man. That's a cool
Yeah,
name.
it's good to not use your real name on the internet sometimes. You say what you really want to say sometimes without, disclosing something on your own channel, get it out
Mhm.
ahead of time or whatever. It's good to have things out in the ether before you're even ready to show people the finished product.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Sometimes you save that psychic energy until you release it. Build it up. They say if somebody's not working on the project, I've read the book by Seamus Culhane, that animation. He helped animate the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And yeah, Scribe is really into the Bigfoot Sasquatch. Um, yeah, when you're ready, just let me know. How long do you think before you have it ready?
Who knows, but I mean, I actually plan on doing like 2 comic books related to it that I hope actually I release before the novel, so that I can hopefully discuss at least one of those or something, and then talk about the whole thing, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be rough on me to get it to the public, because I don't know how it's going to be released as an ebook, or do I have to get a publisher? So it's probably easier for me to produce a small comic and make 10 or 20 copies and send them out to people that are interested, so it can at least get a start somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna see if I can get a. I wrote to a guy who has an animation. He did a video about animation, dark animation. I forgot the name of his channel, but I think it's Miguel Munera or something. But that was the email on the thing, but I'm not sure if that's the name of the channel. I got to look back through my history, because he said just send him an email, but he hasn't wrote me back. So I might have to leave a comment. This was a few days ago, telling him I wrote to the email. And then another guy about lucid dreams. He has a channel, and yeah, it's always good to get different variety. But yeah, once you have anything ready, or even if you want to speculate on it before you launch it, yeah, just let me know, man. That would
Oh
be great.
yeah, I want something solid to share, even if it's a prototype of the comic book, just so we can talk about it and have a physical something.
Hmm. Yeah, and I've always thought of, like, very close to what you're saying. It's like, why would people mine for gold? Why would people that are if they're in primitive societies, mining for gold doesn't make sense. It just you would the
Right,
most
when you're hungry and need shelter and need to care about what you're planting and where you're moving for a season, what are they doing mining for gold and copper? I agree.
exactly, yeah, because I'm thinking the most important thing is food and shelter and clothing. Those are the most important, and like you said, where they're going to migrate if they have to for food, um, if they're nomadic, or if they're staying in one spot. Most likely, if they're more toward the equator or toward the central part. Yeah, because it's like we don't even know where this is. I definitely, I have to say, I don't know. Not sure. I know Scribe has his opinions on it, and other people, but yeah, I mean, it's a mystery. It really is. That gold, really, the most logical way to look at it is that, yeah, it's being used for technology, maybe even, definitely computers. It's supposed to be what, like, one of the best non-corrosive conductor, right?
Gold. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Copper's the cheapest. Gold is the non or sorry, gold is pretty darn good, and then you got silver that could it eventually corrodes, but it's actually a little better than gold as far as conductivity.
Yeah, I think it's the most conductive. Yeah, silver.
Then they have
So,
superconductors, which are ceramics that are super cooled.
wow. I wonder if platinum, like, what is platinum? Do you know, like,
No,
what that?
I don't know actually much about platinum. No, I just know it's worth a bunch of money.
Let me
They
see.
must make something out of it though for our computer parts and stuff. Something is in platinum. I know it's in our. That's why people steal catalytic converters. There's a little bit of platinum in them.
Yeah, I've heard about that. What is the technological purpose, I would say, of platinum? Platinum, because it's and making platinum. I think it was the whole trying to smelt it was when they came over to the Americas. They said that these people in, I think it was more to Central America, had a method of smelting platinum that was not known from over in Europe. That so it kind of, I guess, was rediscovered or something like that. A guy had a video about that. So the primary technical purpose is as a high performance catalyst and corrosion resistant conductor in demanding industrial energy and electronic applications. Wow. So it's also corrosion resistant. Its ability to speed up chemical reactions with extreme heat. Okay. That could be for the catalytic. And
Murder, yeah. I had a dream once that we all work in the iridium mines in the future, and I'm like, I don't even know why I had that dream. It was like 5, 6 plus. It was before COVID even. So before COVID, I had a dream that basically we all took subways from church to church, like churches turned into like train like depots, and we all went to like tent cities. And besides that, we all got our paycheck from the same work window, like something you'd see out of an 80s, friggin' action movie where we all work construction, but we go to that window to get paid, and they pay us in these tickets because we work the iridium mines. And I'm like, why am I having this dream? It's like, well, this is weird.
Wow. How long ago was it?
But somewhere around 10 years ago. So it's somewhere before COVID, but not too. Once when COVID hit, I said, I started thinking, are we going to go to tent cities and our church is going to be converted to something? Because in the dream, it was like everybody went to church, but church was mainly just a place where you wait on a train. And then the trains took you either to work or back to the tent cities. And then everyone was standing in line for our paycheck. Like it was a ticket we got from a window. And the window said we spent how many hours we spent at the iridium mines.
Wow. That's kind of
detailed, right? I'm like, what's happening? I've never seen a movie where that's happening or nothing. I'm like, why is this in my dream? And why is this the only job? Like everybody did it. The only job was the iridium mines. And I was like, I didn't see in the mine, but I knew I had my voucher and I was standing in the line with other people that I knew were my fellow miners.
Wow. And what is iridium really used for? Do you know?
It is used in tech and batteries and stuff. So I think it is on a rise. And then there's a company, Iridium, that actually was the same as Starlink. I didn't know this until I had the dream. A company pre-Starlink that was doing the same thing with satellite phones. So it's a satellite phone technology company, and it's some kind of it's something used in batteries. I think iridium or something can be used in batteries.
Wow. Yeah, it says, I'm looking it up, primarily used in spark plugs, automotive and aviation.
Okay.
Crucibles for crystal growth, electrodes for chlorine production, OLED displays, and aerospace propulsion systems. But of course, they might be using it for something that they're not telling us.
Right.
Yeah.
OLED.
Wow.
So OLED, if everything goes OLED, I guess they'll need it. So
yeah. And it also says it has extreme corrosion resistance, high melting point, and hardness. So kind of similar, I guess, to platinum. Uh, wow. Electronics and conductors. Iridium is used as a component in organic light emitting diodes, OLEDs.
Yeah, okay. So this will help us get energy from the trees, I bet. Like with genetic engineering and stuff, we're going to start making plants that make power.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they hint to that at that movie. I don't know if you've seen it. Was it called Eden Log? It's like a French sci-fi from like, I don't know, 2010, 2015 era. And it's like this weird low budget French sci-fi that's a lot like Resident Evil. And it's like this facility that's like a power station. Something's gone horribly wrong, and they send in the security team. And it's like the power station is basically this weird tree forest root system, and they're like milking it for energy, and it's like powering the city's lights. But the tree itself is creating its own humanoid workers at the very bottom, which is layers and layers under the earth. And as the security team goes in, they find all these mutated people and weird stuff as they get deeper. It's a strange movie that's like almost like a retelling of Adam and Eve in a weird sci-fi biological way.
Wow. Wow.
It's very disturbing as well, not for probably the whole audience.
Yeah.
It's a disturbing film. But I enjoyed it. I've probably seen it 6 or 7 times and seen it in multiple languages.
I remember seeing something about the glowing trees that they were working on in experiments. It was bio trees where let me see.
Yeah, like 5 years ago, they said they made a glowing cat or something in a lab.
Yeah.
Did you see?
And also a monkey. Yeah. A glowing cat, a rabbit, a monkey. I mean, it's Frankenstein, but researchers are developing bioluminescent trees designed to glow in the dark, potentially replacing electric streetlights with sustainable natural lighting using genetic engineering, often splicing genes from bioluminescent bacteria, fungi, or marine life. Wow. This is yeah, it makes you wonder, man. It really makes you wonder.
And I guess we can talk about a separate subject, but also same thing. Like anti-gravity, some video I watched the other day was saying it was from the smallest beetles flying, how they move their wings that are actually creating some kind of anti-gravity field that there's no way those wings can give them lift. But I'm not the expert on that, but I was like watching some YouTube video that was saying that, and I'm like, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but they have a point there, that a small beetle that's real heavy with small wings, but a helicopter isn't a big wing either, and it's, it rotates and provides lift as long as there's enough blades and it's angled slightly.
Yeah, there's a researcher. Yeah, there's a researcher that did stuff about that a while back. It was he was showing how bees they don't fly, they levitate. So bees, beetles, and he had made a device that he could stand on and it would levitate. And
yeah, this must have been a video related to that. It did not show it or anything, but it was talking about anti-gravity's been discovered and has to do with insect wings. And I was like, what?
I'm trying to see if I can find them because I had some pictures of it. That's it. Viktor Grebennikov. So Viktor Grebennikov, 1927 to 2001, a Russian self-proclaimed scientist and entomologist, famously claimed to have invented a levitation platform powered by the anti-gravity properties of insect body parts. He wrote of flying over the Russian countryside, alleging he used the cavity structure of beetles to achieve flight. The claim in his book, My World, 1997, Grebennikov detailed his alleged invention, claiming he could travel at high speeds using a device fueled by dead insect wings. The proof, he claimed, was that the chitinous shells or the chitinous shells of certain insects possess secret anti-gravitational properties. And the scientific standard claims are considered, they try to say pseudoscience, but we already know that they won't let the truth out that easy. We have to definitely think for
Oh yeah,
ourselves.
like what a very early experiment with, I don't know what it was, like fog, mist, air, clouds, something, and they added a little electricity, and apparently they said they made bugs one time just by zapping something, and it's like we created gnats, and it was like 100-year-old experiment, but they were all confused. They're like, how did that? This is after they knew that, about flies and eggs and the jar thing. And there was like some experiment they did, and they said they created a life form. It was just about adding some electricity or something to something, to moist air or something. And it was like, what? But then they said they might have made a mistake. The gnats might have been there, but it took them years to go back and forth of whether or not they had created life.
Wow, it's kind of deep. Yeah, that's like, wow, man.
Yeah, it might have been fruit flies or something, but it was some kind of small like gnat or something. They're like, hey, we just made it out of nothing. And then I'm like, what? And it's like a scientific supposed experiment, but this is like 100+ years ago. And then like they tried it again a few times, and they eventually said, we're not so sure anymore if we did or didn't. But they acted like the first experiment was completely sound, that there was no way they could have screwed it up. But then they couldn't repeat it, apparently, though. So they're like, well, results we couldn't verify because we
Yeah,
couldn't do it out of thin air the next time.
maybe the gnats were attracted to it, or
Yeah, anything, who knows? They could have been on the surface or hidden, or maybe it heated them up and they were cold and didn't even,
Mhm.
no one saw them because they were on a surface of a glass or something, and the bottom side or on a shadow, and they woke them up and they're, started flying around.
Yeah, or even maybe it opened some type of portal that the gnats flew
Right,
through.
something super simple that some
Yeah.
kind of life form really easily could funnel through, right? And that's just like it rains frogs, and they say that's because tadpoles can get sucked up when water, goes up and evaporates. When water evaporates out of the lake or the river, it can take the little tadpole eggs with it, and then the frogs hatch on the way down from the storm, and that's why it rains frogs. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. These theories really need to be explored. This is where the thinking, it's beautiful to be able to still think critically because we don't see that as much. I'm trying to find the research of they say the bumblebee and the dragonfly, according to physics that they knew at the time, they couldn't explain why it could fly. And the helicopter as well, they didn't think it would work. And then as their understanding got better of physics, they realized, okay, this must be the mechanism that allows that. But it's still kind of fuzzy when you think about it.
Right, I mean, the Wright brothers, we have to think we're only, me and you we're under 120 years. We're under 115, we're under 120 years, 115 from the Wright brothers.
Mhm.
And those guys had a kite with a motor on it that they strapped themselves into on a sand dune. And it's like, this is crazy how far we've come, that we're not just making this stuff out of paper and fabric now and just hoping it works. So it's so bizarre, just like all the weird sciences that have happened since they say that they've, dissected the molecule down to the atom, and now they're working on the quark. But I'm like, they're not telling general public what they're doing with the subatomic stuff.
Yeah.
Like CERN or any of this. We're making antimatter, and it's like, so you can drive it around a parking lot to have on a science channel, because that's all they did with it. I don't know if you saw that 2 weeks ago. They're like, we drove antimatter around in a parking lot, and that's the whole show. And I'm like, but what are you really doing with antimatter?
Exactly. That's the real question. That's wow.
I mean, I
Wow.
was really let down being like a science nerd and wanting to check it out. And I'm like, oh my God, they're playing with antimatter. And the whole show, it was on 2 different channels that were real popular. And all they're doing is they take some van, they put the antimatter, it's a little box, just to drive it around the parking lot, just to brag and say they did it. We drove antimatter around in the parking lot with our van. They took the whole show to say and do that. And I'm like, this is embarrassing. It's just like playing volleyball with a 3-year-old and spiking it right into his face. I'm like, are they playing games with us? Like I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was kind of offended. Like they that's all they did. Like I was like, wow, they wasted. I cannot get that 40 minutes back of my life.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, man. It's like I think they do it on purpose to try to get people uninterested in it, to just say, oh well, that's just what it is,
But yeah, you got a point, to make things mundane that shouldn't be. You're right, to pave over them. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And so many people, a lot of people will fall into that and not think like, yeah, there's something else to this. Like the Grabenkov, I'm looking to see, yeah, it's hard to find some of the stuff with the bee levitation, but you're right, the beetle wing levitation, you wonder, do some insects levitate instead of fly? It really makes you wonder what
I mean,
type of.
apparently they've been studying this in science for a long time, and I don't know. I mean, to me, I just saw this video like 2 days ago, and I was like, because of the missing, I've been looking up missing scientist stuff. So 2 or 3 of the missing scientists were into anti-gravity, and the other ones all worked at the same place. And I think that's what they're throwing us off about that missing scientist case, is they don't want us to connect the dots that are connected. And there's 3 of them that worked at the same place over there. And is it Alabama? It's trying to think what it's called, the one where they make the weather for NASA. They have that big building that puffs out the clouds. That one. I'm trying to think of where that area is called. Is it? I think it is in Alabama, right there on the coast. That their space facility over there. But yeah, that the 3 of the people on that list actually all worked out of that site. And I was like, okay, so those 3 are probably connected. Now, it doesn't mean they're connected for the same reasons the general is missing and the other hiker is missing. So I feel like those 2 stories are connected in their own ways, but only separately. So the general and the missing hiker are connected. And then the other 3 people that worked at the Alabama NASA lab are connected. But I don't think those 2 parties are connected with each other. But it looks fishy when they've all, it's actually 4 or 5 years of missing people when they show those people. That girl disappeared, or not disappeared. Her life was over in 2022, Eskridge. So it's like they're kind of reaching at these ones, but I think the internet is right to take a bigger look. So the bigger look, you have to go a little further back. But I think they're throwing a lot of them in there to mess with people thinking they're all connected, when it's actually, we should be looking at the people that work together in actuality separately, and then which is 2 separate groups. It's the general and the girl that went hiking are definitely connected, and then the 3 people that worked at that facility down there that NASA has, it's like a campus down there in Alabama, and that's where Eskridge was at too. So she was down there, and 2 other of the missing scientists were down there. So something else is going on down there. So it's probably separate. Now, this could be liaison stuff, that these people had a contact with a foreign intelligence, and one or both sides just decided to seal up the leak and just do it indiscriminately, and didn't think it would make the news 4 years later, 3 years later. Meaning what they're working on was pretty profound, but it wasn't that they were irreplaceable. And since they weren't irreplaceable, they did replace them, and they just got rid of the loose end. And it could have been us or another group, just depending who it was leaked to. And the other woman's name is Ning Lee, that they won't mention. and she's the other anti-gravity lady that is connected to that too. And apparently she was working for defense with anti-gravity. Now, her version of anti-gravity, if you look it up, they actually have a lot of description of what Ning Li was working on. And hers is much smaller. So they were using this for payloads, not flying saucers. So this was to reduce the weight of warheads to send them further in hypersonics. So they're not disclosing all that, but that's obviously what they're doing. From looking at the data of Ning Li's research, they're lightning payloads to use the same rocket that would send a hypersonic, 500 to 1,000 miles, that it can go, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 miles, because they're lightening the payload with this weird technology that we're discussing and trying to fit it into a, nose cone of a rocket.
Yeah.
Is what it looked like they're working on with Ning Li, the other missing scientist that for some reason they don't even mention. And she's doing the same stuff, and she disappeared within a year or so before, or not disappeared. She had a car accident, sorry. And she did die from it. And she was in communications with 2 separate countries about her research. And both of them wanted her to stay loyal to them. And she ended up passing from a car accident. So, and that's the one they don't want us to look into because it's obvious what was going on there. It was our country and the country of her home origin were the ones in discussion about who she should be loyal to.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of scientists have ended up missing just recently, right? Like
yes, this is an ongoing thing that's just kind of growing. So
yeah, and then magically they say David Wilcock just offed himself or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was going. I don't know if you're a fan or followed him in recent years, or did you see him in Contact to the Desert like 7 years ago?
I think I first got wind of him through Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, he was really good on there. I'd have to say, that was some of his best shining stuff, and his involvement with, I guess, pre-Corey Good and Emery Smith was better than when he tried to introduce them at the Contact in the Desert. I think him going to Gaia was his downfall. Nothing against Gaia personally. I don't have anything against David Wilcock personally, but I think he considered them Luciferians. He actually screwed himself over by ending the deal. He was spending money. They were supposed to pay him, but they got their money back because he got out of the contract. And he was having money problems between his marriage, his house, his investments. So the last 5.5 years, he was having trouble, and he was talking about it kind of outwardly and asking for help and donations to keep his house. So between that and supposedly he mentioned being a diabetic and not being able to afford his medicine as well, which was very strange because I thought he would at least have enough donations coming in, but he might have been in some serious debt where, what do they call it when they dock your pay or they try to, skim out of your own accounts? He might have been, actually owing money to the point where they were taking it if he had any. So I was kind of worried when I heard that too about he mentioned being a diabetic and not being able to get his medication. And he was also probably looked like he lost 20 or 30 pounds. And at least, in less than 3 years of watching him on, his regular show. And then you had other shows making money off making fun of him. Now, again, like anybody on the internet, yes, people are allowed to make fun of you and stuff. And I think it makes you more famous, to be honest. If someone wants to make a whole internet channel about what you're doing, it usually doesn't actually bring you down. It brings you up because it's another form of attention. But he didn't like it, just like Kim Jong-il doesn't like memes of him. David Wilcock did not like people making fun of him on the internet, and it's a rite of passage of being famous. It just happens.
Yeah, you got to take it with you just have to accept it. If you want to be famous, it's going to happen. I mean, George Tsoukalos had a hard time accepting that from Ancient Aliens, the guy with the hair.
Yeah, he's the Greek guy. Yeah.
He they made a Facebook page of George Tsoukalos's hair, and it got more likes than his own page. And it got like 12,000 likes or something, or followers. And he made his profile private. And I saw him. I think it was earlier this year. Yeah, they had like a conference out in Long Island, and it was in Patchogue, I think, and it wasn't really that great. Yeah, they it's like a money grab now, you know. Yeah,
Yeah, I can believe that. I mean, out of the guys on there, I mean, him and Childress look the most interesting just to talk to,
hmm
you know. But I don't. I mean, David Wilcock as a person, sure, but I would talk to him more about his stuff before all that, like what got him involved in this stuff. His bridge between Casey and Montauk is where I would talk to Wilcock. I feel like that's where he really formed his stuff, you know, that
hmm
he went on for his whole life until a few weeks ago. To me, was formed between his study of Casey to his study of the Montauk. I feel like really was his growth. And I think he inspired a lot of people. So that's the good thing we have to remember about him. Even if not everything he figured out was real, not everything is agreed on, that I think he inspired a lot of people. And that's the good thing about Wilcock.
Wow. Wow. He did inspire. He had a pretty big YouTube channel, 500,000 subscribers, and he would get like 2 to 3,000 people watching live, sometimes more.
Yeah, I mean, mentally, he just couldn't handle the trolls in the last few years. He just, you could tell it was getting to him. Like, you know, you could see the holes in his armor. You know, you could see it in his eyes that he was tired. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
over the years of seeing how he took it was not good. Since his fallout with Gaia, his fallout with Corey Good, it didn't look well on him. He never fully recovered. And I don't know if his wife leaving him was part of that or the main part. He didn't talk about it much, about his divorce, to be honest. He barely mentioned his divorce, but you could tell when it happened.
hmm Yeah. Gaia used to promote their stuff so much. I remember. Everywhere you look, they must have had a serious advertising budget, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, Gaia was wild for a bit, and I like that Johnny, whatever his name is, he puts on a good show. But I mean, I'd have to say none of it has got me hooked for years. You know, the very beginning of it was interesting, but I feel like if you dug the deepest stuff on the internet, you kind of already knew the stuff they were going to tell you. You know, so Gaia to me just made half-hour to hour-long shows about 10-minute internet research that's been done since the 90s, but they were elaborating more on the Sumerian tablets, on the South American Incan structures and the sun gates, and there was their own version of Ancient Aliens as a whole brand, but not just Ancient Aliens. It was a little spiritual, a lot archaeological, and stuff that's a little deeper dive into all of it than a basic Ancient Alien show and broadcast. So in that way, I support Gaia, but I felt bad about the whole falling out with Wilcox, so I didn't know how to look at it after that, I have to say.
Yeah. What was it, like a subscription base? You had to
Yeah,
pay?
it was like $5 a month, and this was like way back, so it was really affordable, like only like $5 a month or something. And this is like 5-10 years ago, and I don't even know anymore what it costs, but they still put out shows, meaning under their creators still push stuff on the internet under their channel, so it still says Gaia. And there's that one guy, Johnny something, and he's real interesting when he talks about ancient stuff. But I think Billy Carson came out of Gaia for a while too, and there's not too many people left standing that were as big as Wilcock. And then Billy Carson has had his issues as well in the past year and a half, where he lost a lot of his followers less than 2 years ago, a year, when he got in that religious argument, which I think he was kind of baited into, which his own followers shouldn't have judged him for. I feel like that was kind of cruel. The goal is that Will Huff or something did the Bible debate with him.
Oh, Wes Huff, yeah.
Wes Huff, yeah. I kind of felt bad for Billy, and I'm not his biggest fan. I just kind of feel like anybody could do that. Like me and you could be talking about something, and all of a sudden I'm like, haha, you can't solve this math equation. And be like, and you can't figure out how many yards it is to the target. Yeah, we're going to have different opinions about things that one of us is good at. And I feel like Billy challenged himself to the wrong person. Like, I feel like he was set up for that debate. And it's, no fault of his own that he wasn't actually, or it is a fault that he wasn't actually historically an expert on some of the things he considered himself an expert. But any of us can have a bad day. The best boxer in the world could go in the ring and lose a fight just because they're mood,
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it wasn't as much the thing that Wes Huff called him out on, which I think he was claiming something with the Emerald tablets and something else about the Codex Alimentarius or something.
Yeah, it was an early Bible, that stuff they were arguing about.
Yeah, and then Wes just turned around and pulled it out, right off the shelf.
Yep. I watched it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
felt so
hilarious.
bad. Billy looked hungover. I was like, shit.
Yeah, he definitely. I think what Billy destroyed himself on that was the doorbell cam video that he was, ringing. I guess the guy that hosted it, he was ringing. I don't know if you saw that footage where they posted the footage of the doorbell.
Yeah, the guy that set him up kind of admitted to what happened and then said Billy was not very happy about it.
Yeah, so that, and then what really made him lose followers was when he did a response video and he started saying that he has more money than rappers and he knows billionaires. He could call them up right now. Like the ego started coming out. I don't know if you saw that video he made. It was like,
yeah, I mean, it made me actually like him more that he responded in that way, calling himself a G, because I was just like, how are you supposed to respond to that stuff? And then his wife left him, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh, really? Wow, I heard something about that, but I didn't know if she really left. So she really left.
Yeah, I felt really bad for her. I think it all had to do with the same stuff. If he had never had that interview or whatever you want to call it, the debate, I think she would have still been with him.
So
and life would have been still normal.
Right after?
Oh, it was from the fallout, meaning she was cash cowing him. I don't want to be offensive, but I feel like she was kind of.
She was a stripper, right?
Yeah, she was a good-looking woman. I don't know what she was doing. What her side quest was, but
No, like seriously, I think her occupation. I don't know if she still does it, but I think she used to work in that industry.
Yeah, I mean, she was well versed and had her own talk stuff, but I felt bad that it was
not a
on.
Bad-looking chick. She's definitely not a bad-looking girl.
Yeah, it was on the back of his show. She was promoting her own feminine spiritual stuff that. Yeah, it didn't take off because of him, meaning when her stuff had just launched, when he had said all that negative, like you said, that got all the flack. She was trying to launch her own business off him without not even understanding what this meant, that last debate he had. And she was already in the throes of launching her own feminine spiritual stuff. And it just did not work out at all. They had less viewers than we do. It's just like, whoa.
Wow. So I think she's doing interviews now still, right? But it's not on, I don't think it's on YouTube. It's on something else.
No, I mean, I was subscribed to her separate channels and it's nothing there now, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, wow, man. That's wow.
Because I think people were trolling her over the Billy Carson stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, calling her a gold digger is what most people do. And I mean, whatever, we all are who we are. And if that's what Billy liked, that's what Billy liked. I see his taste. I was like, I think she's a pretty girl and she seemed business savvy. And I was just like, you go.
Yeah, she had a head on her shoulders, definitely.
Yeah, we have someone else in the chat. Hello.
Oh yeah, Mr. X, how you doing? How's everything?
I just finished that emergency, so I'm just thought I'd pop back in again, see where I'll just hop on it. I'll give my 2 cents. So you guys are having a good combo here, so it's pretty good.
Oh yeah, great combo, man. He's coming out with a book soon, comic book as well. Yeah, this is going to be good, man. It's we were talking about a lot of stuff. The Billy Carson fiasco that happened not too long ago. I don't know if you know about that.
No, I'm not familiar with it at all.
Yeah, with Wes Huff. I think somebody in the chat had put in that Billy is now joining the Galactic Federation of Light. It's like
that. What the heck is that?
I think it's Ashtar Command. Let me look it up because they're kind of out there.
What do you guys think about Archaics? I won't say anything until I get your response, but I feel like there's a vacuum of power here with this stuff with ancient aliens, and someone like that is trying to fill it.
Wow. It says, because I remember in Manhattan, they had at the New Life Expo, this had to be like 15 years ago, where I think they were called like the Raelians or something, and their so-called leader was Rael, and it looked more like a science group. And I had went to this thing they had, I think it was on like 34th Street or something. It was downtown after that expo, and yeah, they were kind of cultish. But I think there's branches like Ashtar Command, Galactic Federation of Light. It says the GFL, prominent New Age belief regarding coalition of spiritually advanced, benevolent extraterrestrial races from star systems. Yeah, they kind of seem out there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I never heard of him, but yeah, I'm still subscribed to Billy, and I watch him like once a week and just wish him luck. But I feel like it's like watching the the hole where the Twin Towers are at this point from where he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back from that. The whole Ashtar Command, I remember seeing them. They're affiliated with the Star Seeds, and they're kind of out there. They're like one chick, I remember she was saying that some guy named Psylord, he tortured her in astral. And I'm like, holy, I just couldn't believe it. It was like a soap opera. And I'm thinking
psychic attacks.
Yeah. So, and he called himself Psylord, and I'm thinking who, Bill from accounting, Psylord. It just, it's hilarious. But yeah, they kind of, I guess that's who Billy tried to join with because of, to maybe do damage control from what happened with Wes Huff. And now Wes Huff is crashing and burning, I think, because he got on some big shows. He got on Rogan, but then he got on Diary of a CEO. And he was saying stuff like everybody's going to hell, and he got very, very strict in his religious thing, and it was
right. It's hard to win a debate when it's only based on religion. If someone actually debates facts, and yet I figured he'd be cornered eventually.
Yeah. He kind of, so now people are other people are now jumping on, attacking him and just exposing him, and yeah, he kind of it's a really tough one. I think about that. I didn't know, because I heard Carson's wife left him, but I wasn't sure if it was true. And yeah, she's not a bad looking chick. Definitely has intellectual capabilities. And I saw a few of her interviews that she was trying to, I guess, stay above water. But yeah, who knows where it's going to go. Yeah, it's a tough one.
We're all just trying to make a buck. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Right. I mean, a job's a job. Just like UFC is on Saturday, and people think, well, Sean Strickland has a chance. Well, actually, Sean Strickland has a friggin' job, and he's willing to take the paycheck to get killed or not on Saturday.
But at least they give you some form of entertainment, to watch. At least there's some.
Yeah, but we have to give the public a sense to think there's a fight or think someone's going to win, even if there's a 5-1 chance they're probably not. It's still a job. If one of us got the call, it's either we get the $1 million paycheck or we stay at home. So do you want the $1 million, even though you're going to get punched in the face in front of everybody in the world and you're probably going to lose? The paycheck's still going to buy you years of life for your own ranch, your own home, your own kids' well-being and education, which is far more important than getting punched in a one evening scenario.
Yeah, but at least the audience is getting what they paid for versus.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree. But if he wins, it's a cold chance in hell. But I'm rooting for him to just go ahead out there and try, because that's why he's getting all the media hype and trying to get canceled, because it's a win-win, lose-lose game for him no matter what he does. So he's trying to media hype to the point where Paramount don't want him even on there. But the chance of him winning are thinner than him not getting canceled, kind of thing. So he's walking that tightrope for the media right now.
Wow. Well, I heard he turned down a deal from Nike or something, because he went off on something, man. He was like,
he's blatantly saying a bunch of, our word, racist stuff in comments, but he's doing it to light the fuse for media because to get Dana this money. Because it's a job. He realized his job is his mouth just as much as his fist. to get that viewership, just like Ryan Garcia did for that fight with Devin Haney. You know, Ryan, that was the biggest budget fight in years for that lower weight class. You know, for small guys to be in the ring and that much money to be floating it, that was the biggest fight in the last 10 years of small dudes. And not that people are, you know, hugest Ryan Garcia fans, but he's a fast dude. He has a strong left, and you know, women like him. So it's just like he goes in there, and as long as he can use his mouth to sell the show too, win or lose or be disqualified, it was still the biggest monster payday, I think, of the lighter weight dudes besides the tank fights in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, man, that's, I remember the old days, you know, when it started, and yeah, it changed a lot since then. It definitely has.
Garcia's trash talk should have got him canceled too, but you know, he's still there, but he knows that's what sells, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a show. It's a show. Like you said, it's entertainment. It's a show. People, it's a job, you know, they have a job, and it basically, yeah. It's
he knows Dana's going to have to kick his ass for the money, the numbers that people that watch this fight. Even if Sean Strickland lasts 30 seconds, the amount of hype he's given this, of media attention, of walking that tightrope of getting canceled over it, is going to pay. You know, at least it's going to pay the bosses. So it's like, damn, you know, I don't know what their paychecks are going to look like. But Cosmot's never lost, as far as anybody knows, and so just like just like no astronauts have been lost in space either, right? So it's like, no one else has ever lost, ever. No schoolyard fight, no nothing. Cosmot never lost. He's got a big scar on his face from a knife injury in his face. Did he lose that fight, or was that not a fight? You know, I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe it's not my business, but I just feel like no one's won every fight. Just like we all learned to play a game from a beginning point. So it's just like, I can't believe, you know, no one is completely undefeated.
Yeah.
You know, someone's beat you in training or something.
I think Strickland has twice the fights, but you know, he has losses, and Kazmak, they say, is 15-0 or something like that.
Yeah, but Strickland's losses are to people that are at least, you know, that are world top caliber people now. And Kazmat has only been fighting world top caliber people once every other year for a few years now. So he actually, the amount of competition he's been able to try on is not to the level yet of these other guys we regularly see. But Kazmat in general, on paper, could beat everybody up into like even the 205s, unless he goes against Jan Blachowicz. I don't think anybody in 205 can stop him from holding them down. And he's at 185. So
yeah, definitely.
Jan Blachowicz is the only guy I think that could teach Kazmat a lesson that's nearest his weight.
They say he's got a younger brother who's like really good, I think, at wrestling, Kazmat, right?
Really? Okay. Yeah, I mean, is he Sweden or Chechnyan or what? I don't even know. No one knows what Boris really is. He's friends with the Chechnyans, but is he actually Chechnyan? I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just saw the video too. It was like a training video, and it was showing how like his brother supposedly is like, he beat some like really top level wrestler in a wrestling match, and like, yeah, he showed some pretty good, you know, discipline on that. I was like, wow, this guy might be, and that supposedly is Kazmat's younger brother. Yeah.
What I do like about UFC is how they highlight the importance of wrestling, how if you're really good, how dominant you can be in that.
Yeah, they have to keep those guys out now because of the it would take over, and they try to hype up the punching people because that's what sells. They actually have to limit wrestlers in it because they don't want them dominating every weight class.
Yeah, but there is rules that protect the wrestler. Like when you there are certain knees that you can't do, that if you could do those knees, it would affect the wrestlers a lot. Like, not to say that they would all lose, but it's like
what kind of knees? What are you talking about?
It's like if a wrestler grabs you for a double takedown, and you happen to grab him in a hole that's not a full guillotine, and now both of you are basically like on your knees, but you're holding him. You're on top of him, holding him in not a full guillotine, but just a hold, and his hand is on the ground. At that point, you could knee him on the top of his head, and that can very much knock him out, and those are prohibited. So
yeah, Petr Yan got disqualified. That's why Aljo won the belt that way. Aljo got kneed in the head by Petr Yan, and that's how Aljo got the belt.
I think that's why they disqualified, because technically that could kill you.
Well, yeah, because it definitely is dangerous, but again, as far as a real fight, like when they
changed the rule actually this year, so it's called a knee to a downed opponent, and it's that now it's like what part it's your hands can touch the mat, and they actually can knee you in the head. It's whether your knee is touching the mat or something like that. So if you're on your knees now, they can't do it, but if they can do it, if you touch your hand to the mat and your knee is up, they can knee you in the face. And the other one is the up kick. If the opponent is fully standing over you, you can kick them in the mouth from on the mat, but you can't legally do that if they're down to one knee.
Yeah, and I tell you, Pride in the early UFC was just brutal, man. With Wanderlei Silva stomping on Sakuraba while he was on the ground. And
stuff. I don't think these modern guys were as tough as those guys back then.
Yeah, those guys, I mean, they were risking their life.
And Don Fry and those guys and Gary Goodridge, I think, are way tougher than these guys today. Meaning they were fighting 3 to 5 fights a night. Yeah.
And they're all broken up. Have you seen Fry is like really messed up, man? He's just
and still knocking people out that bother him he shows up to the events and people freaking troll him or try to get in fights with him. He knocks out young dudes.
Yeah, Fry is no joke.
An awesome wrestler, Don Fry. Yeah, he was an awesome wrestler. That's the guy with the mustache.
And he looked 35 when he was 25. Yeah.
The one who's in the best shape is Dan Severn. He just talks normal. Because he knew not to get too much take too much punishment. Basically,
Dan Severn's still probably competitive. He could go in there and probably get a top 12 and win heavyweight.
Fry has been through so much battles. He was talking about the surgeries he's had and stuff like that. A lot of guys have those rules back in the day was they were brutal, man. When I met
Don Fry kneeing a guy in the face, a Russian, and he was just
I remember meeting the Gracies, and that was before it was kind of like you didn't have as much high caliber sometimes that were facing them. But you had tough guys, and they got out just in the nick of time. I think a couple of them got knocked out. Holmes Gracie's got knocked out twice. I think by Muhammad Lawal, and then he got knocked out again by the Caveman. And then Hodger Gracie got knocked out. It was just like, holy smokes, man. The game changes, and at first it was pretty good lessons, to see what worked in a street fight. And then it just K1 GP was goated. K1 was brutal. Back then you could wear boots and do head kick. It was brutal, man. And some of those guys are still paying for that. Like Fry, he's a tough guy. He could probably just punch a guy and knock him out, if the guy gets hit. These guys are extremely tough. But his back and his a lot of guys at the Gracie Academy ended up having, I noticed some of them have back surgery and stuff from always training in the guard. I kind of got out, I guess I got lucky, by just deciding not to train anymore and just saying, look, I know enough to defend myself. And, in a street fight, anything can happen. Right. on the ground, on that cement. I've been scraped up from fighting on cement and sidewalks, and it ain't fun. It's like, it's good to defend yourself, but you do take damage, and it's going to be tough to work with multiple opponents. The grappling, that's where the striking it outclasses it, because you'll see some guys that are good at boxing, and granted, some of the guys are drunk and they'll knock out 2 or 3 guys. And, without ever going to the ground. It's like, wow, they Michael, what was it? Michael Jai White, he's a martial artist and he is an actor, but he is a martial artist. And I was surprised because he said one of the best styles that he thinks in a street fight would probably be Muay Thai. He goes, first off, he would give it to the boxer because, I mean, some of those boxers are quick. And then second was the wrestler. He tried to say I think he said Muay Thai was third, but Muay Thai is some tough dudes, man. Those guys are excellent. That's an excellent form of self-defense, so, but again,
just avoid the street fight, guys, because you don't want someone to pull a weapon. Get out safely. Beat your chest and tell them have a nice day.
Yeah, there was a black
sometimes you can't avoid it. Sometimes you can't.
There's a black belt in Brazil just recently, within I think the last year or two. This guy was high-level black belt. He teaches people in Brazil. I think he was on a bus, and this guy pulled out a gun. He grabbed him, put him in a rear naked choke, and the guy just pointed his gun behind him and shot him in the head and killed him. I was like, holy, while he was in the rear naked choke.
Yeah.
It's sad, man. Yeah, it's really sad. It's like, I remember Rodrigo Gracie was training at the academy in Manhattan, Renzo Gracie's academy. And he was a really cool guy. And he used to be, I think he was saying, like, some guys would be in a gang and stuff. And he goes, they don't need to know jujitsu. They would have a rifle, stuff like that. It's like, it's always good to know how to defend yourself in case of emergency. But like you said, if they pull a weapon, a knife, even if you don't see it, because they say knives aren't meant to be seen, they're meant to be felt. And that can end a life quicker than a bullet wound.
But MD, that's why I'm so pro Second Amendment. I know you're kind of a little bit against it, but guess what?
No, I'm okay with the Second Amendment. I'm not,
because the gangs are going to have it. The gangs are going to have their weapons.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely. I think any gun law is unconstitutional.
It is.
So it's like, to me, it's like, I don't see why people even have to ask to have a license to defend themselves. So to me, it's like it's a money grab just to even say that. Why do we even need an amendment? Why do I need somebody to tell me that I have the right to bear arms, especially against them? It's like, that's no brainer.
My stepdad had a saying.
People think twice of breaking into a home because down here everyone has a gun.
Really, yeah. I don't know what gave you the impression that I might not.
Oh, I thought you mentioned it on one of the streams one time.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm looking at it like any gun law is unconstitutional. Like I look at laws as the problem, because morality will override a law. A law allows rivers to be polluted. Sky, saying, oh, well, the law says this. It's like, no, they have been at war with us since as long as we can remember, since the day we're born. Taxing me without my representation. I can understand water, stuff like that, like, electricity and stuff. Even, tax is the synonym for tax is extortion. I mean, when you work and you get money, that is an exchange. That is not a profit. So to tax that is criminal. And so they are extorting people without people even realizing how bad it is. And it's like when people weren't allowed to read, certain people, and they read anyway. It's like, that's the way I look at it. It's like, who cares? It's like, wait, I don't even know it's like, I don't care because what do you mean it's illegal to read? I don't care, So it's like, I think Mark Twain said it best. He goes, the man who cannot read does not read doesn't have an advantage over the man that cannot read, because neither of them read. Even though the guy that can read, he's not reading. So it's like, it's just, and in Germany and stuff like that with the street signs, it's like knowing how to read stuff in other languages is very important. It's very important. In the military, it's like, they're like, look, you got to know what these street signs mean, because you got to be able to abide by the street laws. Now, those laws I can understand, If you have a city grid, one-way streets, red lights, stuff like that, yeah. As far as other laws to tell me about protecting myself, that's crazy. It's like for me to even, to be like, yeah. And I heard Florida, all cities, I mean, they're off the handle with stuff,
No, and you come down to Florida, you'll see it's normal. You're not going to feel, you almost don't feel like you need one because it's,
I
you
think
know,
it's better for somebody to have, like, if something were to happen in a store, I'd be happy if a citizen, like when they have these videos and a citizen pulls out and protects,
right.
will stop the robber or something. That makes total sense, man. I mean,
But then if someone films it and the person happens to turn their back at that moment, then they're like, "Oh, it wasn't self whatever," and it's like,
they try to.
because there was somebody that got robbed. There's 2 or 3 incidents I remember locally in the last few years that there was like one employee there and someone came in with a weapon, robbed them, and the employee pulls out a gun and shoots, and the employee goes to prison because they shot him in the back. Now the thing is, like, well, they just to me they just had a gun pointed in their face.
Yeah, exactly.
The human reaction isn't always to stop and pause and remember where I'm saying, where you're aiming. So I mean, to me, if you just had a gun in your face and the guy's still holding the weapon, I understand a warning shot or at least try to aim at the ankle, but you could be paying for that dude for the rest of his life for all of his care, too. And that's what cops think about too. And that's why sometimes they just go ahead and end lives because they don't have to pay the rest of your life for a lawsuit,
It's crazy. Yeah,
And that's what the stand your ground law is for. It has nothing to do with guns, by the way. It just means you can protect yourself, self-defense.
But if they're running the opposite way, even though if they just robbed you, beat you up, did whatever, you're not legally allowed to shoot them after they're going away from you.
Well, it protects you in case they can say, "Oh, you had a chance to flee, so you had no right to punch him
Right,
in the
you
face."
basically have to tell them to turn around again, and then it's like, wait, can I get your picture?
It's crazy because if the person is robbing someone, even if they're getting away, I'm like, hey, I'm looking at it like if somebody murders that person, even if they're running away, it's like, well, they just robbed the person. It's like they're lucky that people don't hunt them down and find them later, even if they were to get away and they know who it is.
Yeah, the police are allowed to shoot you if you're running toward any populated area, if they see you, brandishing. But a civilian is not if you're if they're going the opposite direction. You have to get in front of them again or have them face you.
But that's the problem with all these laws, because
you can't protect other people. It has to be your people, like your family or yourself, or it doesn't count.
Well, it only protects the law. I mean, it goes against the law-abiding citizen. The ones who care.
Yeah, exactly.
It suppresses them. It doesn't suppress the criminals because they're not going to follow the law anyway.
I've definitely seen. It's like it's sad that people have to ask the government to protect themselves. Just to self-defense. New York,
it gives them that invisible power that we pretend they have when we vote. It's just the whole thing. Is we wait for their help. We wait for them to tell us who won. We wait for them to give us a chance to vote. And the whole time we could be doing all that on our own, just like we're talking about, is governing ourselves, setting up a small garden, or working with our relatives, working with our neighbors, having a community of trust. And we know who's in our community. We know what to look out for. We have our own neighborhood watch that's militant, and we could be doing that instead of worried about getting to vote and who we're going to, it's like all that's not been working for us.
Yeah. Absolutely. And saving money from not being taxed on that stuff to say, look, strong communities makes policing obsolete.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Yeah, exactly. Like instead of a volunteer fire department, men would volunteer to protect schools. Men would volunteer to protect dance recitals and the other things in Europe that have been attacked. Like, oh my God, there's somebody in a neighborhood that would love to be like, I'm standing outside to make sure if somebody comes between me and I am the one, that they have to go through.
Exactly. It's a realistic way of living. That's the real way. It decreases oppression and it increases people being part of their community and understanding and feeling a purpose in life to say, look, this is my community. I don't have to ask somebody to be a part of it and to, we have to volunteer. We have to do that. It's our, that's something that we should want to do. If we leave that to somebody else, we open the door to corruption. We open Yeah.
It makes me think about Curtis Silva that was running for mayor of New York.
Yeah.
And man, if I could have worked for his campaign, I would have. I've met him in real life, and this is the same stuff he's talking about, you know. And it's
Mhm.
just like he wants to improve things from the ground roots up, and it's getting to know your neighbors, getting to know people,
Yeah.
and it's just like is we the more we know about ourselves, and we can govern ourselves. And I feel like he was trying to run Republican, and it didn't work out for him, but at least he got national attention finally.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the Guardian Angels when he started that and stuff. I mean, I was too young to really remember, I think, the beginning of it, but yeah, I remember. You can't, like, I think running on the Republican or Democrat, it's tough because you'd probably have to do independent. And then there's so much corruption in politics, it's crazy, so it's
Especially
like,
in New York, especially up
yeah,
there.
somebody,
It's pretty
yeah,
bad.
really, if they're trying to make a change for the better, it's you're gonna have businesses that are gonna, like, silently, be paying people off to be like, okay, we don't want this guy there
Mhm.
because they want somebody corrupt, because that then they can be controlled. They don't want. It's like they keep this scarcity. It's manufactured. It's
Well,
really
I think California, they passed a law like 300 or $400 million for the homeless situation, and within 3 months, the money just disappeared. It was all gone, and
oh,
the
they
homeless situation never even amounted
yeah,
to anything.
Yeah,
politics.
these places pay themselves to consult and just think about it. They just sit
Yeah.
somewhere, pay themselves millions of dollars, and don't even come up with. They had this that happened where I was at. They hired different people. They were like, "Oh, there's an art center. There's a this. We need a second art center." They paid themselves millions of dollars, and what they did was they took themselves out to baseball games and decided we're going to build a baseball stadium instead of a new art museum. And they paid themselves millions and millions of dollars to think about it.
Yeah, that's corruption 101 right there. It never gets back to the people, so they can make all the promises they want to, tax all they want to, but you're not going to see that money.
Mhm.
That's the problem with big government. It does not work for the people. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And these are already people that come from a lifetime of wealth that appoint themselves in these weird positions that we
Sure, but
can't vote them out of.
being a millionaire isn't good enough. They want to be billionaires. That's the key.
Right. So
That's the
they end up on these consultant things that are part of the government that we don't even look at, but they're part of the payroll.
That's right. That's our slave wage, giving it to that, making other
Yeah,
people
I barely
rich.
noticed. I got into a little bit of politics. This was 2000 and trying to think what year this guy's with. 2004.
Hmm.
And I got to go behind the scenes a little bit and see how things work, and it was pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting. So, got involved with local politics for a while. One of my neighbors worked for the housing authority, and he wanted to be on city council, and I was friends enough to be like, his neighbor and a daily almost hanging out with this guy, and we ended up both working for a nonprofit, and he already worked for the housing authority, so I was getting closer and closer to politics. And then there was some other political stuff and Governor Wilder out where I'm at. And I ended up working for Wilder's office. And it was pretty interesting stuff. And, I have to say I got along with Governor Wilder, but the politics is not exactly what we think it is. It's just a one massive team sport once they're all playing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
There's
sense.
no real goal. It's just winning.
Yeah. No, exactly. Well, that
They
was
get
good to see it, man. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. It's yeah, I forgot that yeah, that whole thing with Sliwa and the city, and yeah, it was crazy, man. It's like the crime. I mean, when I look at it, it's like politics is so crazy that anybody that gets in there and tries to make it better, there'll be underhanded stuff popping up, like you won't even see it. Like, it just it's crazy. It's really crazy that anybody that tries to get in there on that regular avenue and tries to make a change for the better, it just once again shows me that there's some underworld that runs it and keeps
Mhm.
things in a state of corruption to where it can be controlled through the underworld. And we think
Yeah,
that
I mean, Our
Yeah.
biggest cities run like a clock. Look at Manhattan, look at Chicago. And I'm not talking about what's going on in the outskirts of the crime stuff. I'm saying the interior of those cities works like a machine.
Yeah.
It stays where, and we know why that is. That's not the government. It is the crime that keeps it going. It's the real stuff, the garbage men. It's the real stuff that's going on that keeps it all ticking. And that's the real government in these places, and that's who ends up helping appoint and getting the people in that agree with them, is the people that really run it. And the more set it is, like a major city like Manhattan, the more it's going to run like a clock, because that stuff is concreted into the fabric. And look at Vegas. Vegas was started by gangsters. And it's just like, it had a real big problem during COVID. Remember, like, no one was going to hotels, no one was vacationing, and somehow it survived, and that was crazy that it was all empty, for that time.
Yeah.
And
I think Sliwa, there was a thing where he got assaulted in the 90s, and the prosecutor argued that John Gotti was behind the attack. Sending guys. It's like there's always some type of there's something going on, man. It's really sad, but it's 12:30, guys, man. It's been a great conversation. I really appreciate Igor coming on, Mr. X, everybody in the chat, Brother Ali, man, good to see you, Mark, Brian, Ragamuffin, man, always a pleasure, bro. I'll stream either Saturday or Sunday, definitely. And maybe tomorrow night I'll see what happens.
Thumbs up, everybody. Everybody have a good night.
All right.
Good night, Igor. Thanks.
Yes.
All right, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Take care. Mr. X, take care. Have a great night. Everybody in the chat, thank you. Yeah. All right.